Welcome to the Business Health and Mindset Podcast. I'm Kate Geronimo. I'm a natural health and mindset practitioner, transforming female entrepreneurs into unstoppable forces by supercharging their health and mindset. Now, health and mindset are intricately woven together and form that vital secret weapon you need to cultivate to succeed in business. Thank you for listening. Let's dive into this episode. Hello and welcome to today's episode. I'm Kate. I'm looking at being vulnerable and why business owners will do well to take a step back, listen to this episode today, and really consider for themselves if they haven't been vulnerable and if they haven't practiced this and learnt some of the skills to help them be a vulnerable yet authentic, real person in their business for themselves, for the business, and for their team, staff, contractors, etc., that it's something that they need to look at. Many people won't do personal development work or mindset work or, any kind of work on themselves simply because they just don't believe that they need to. Now, we're all conditioned from a very young age, and we all have belief structures and, behavioural structures, habit structures, thought structures in which we operate in our daily life. And this doesn't mean that we're all walking around doing things that are incorrect for us, but they may not be helpful for us. All of these structures lead us into being a certain person and doing certain things in our day-to-day lives. And we all have patterns of thought, behaviour, speech, etc. And our unconscious, subconscious mind drives this behaviour because it is much easier to have us do what the subconscious mind wants, because then the majority of its energy, the brain's energy, is focused on performing all of the autonomic functions within the body, like breathing, heart rate, digestion, repairs in the body, etc. So being vulnerable can be a very, very dirty word to some people. And I know that I used to personally look upon vulnerability as weakness. And I had to go through a change myself. Now, I grew up learning from a very young age that I could only rely on myself. And I was the only person that I could trust, because ultimately I was the one that always had to get the job done, and that was all there was to it. So I just learned from a really young age to be self-sufficient. Over the years and through life experience, I finally came to the point of really being quite fascinated by personal development work, by the neuroscience, by the brain, by how we, and the mind, and how we function, and how different we all are, and how we are all unique and wonderful. And when we collectively come together, we can, it's like often bashing into brick walls, and it can be very difficult. And relationships are fragile. Relationships are just so complex as well at times, and yet they can be so refreshing when we meet somebody that we just click with, and everything seems to be effortless, and we just get on with this person before us. We refer to them as our bestie, our person, the one that gets me. But how beautiful is that? Yet we can't always have those types of relationships with everybody that we meet and those that are in our life. Now, in business, We will come across people that just don't light our fire. They seem to burst our bubble and rain on our parade and cause us grief every which way we turn. So learning to be more vulnerable in our lives and learning to tap into who we are and facing our fears, facing the things that hold us back, facing our beliefs, facing what we and how we have grown up, how we have been structured, and how we have come to being who we are today, allows us then to take a step forward and to really explore ourselves and our world and become someone different. Now, being vulnerable allows us to have curiosity in our lives and to open up and to learn. To learn all about the world around us, the people. Yet so often I come across those in business and people in general who have an attitude of, yep, I know that. Yeah, I know that. I know that. I know that. I know that. You can't tell me anything. I know that. I've been there. I mean, how often do you come across people who they just won't budge? They seem to know everything. And some can be very quiet in that, and some can be very loud and aggressive in that self-belief. But that comes down to a really tough external and internal person who has these beliefs that is keeping them locked and rigid, and they're not able to be curious about themselves, because if they are curious about themselves, they're going to see their failings and their weaknesses and who they really are. Yet they know deep down who they really are, and they just don't want to face it. They can't face it because it is too painful, because they will see what everybody else sees. A coward or a weak person or somebody who just doesn't measure up. Being a person in business and being someone who can be successful in business, and I always say and add in whatever that success means to you, but being a successful person in business really comes back to being somebody who is self-aware, who has that internal and external curiosity about themselves and about the world around them, and that allows them to go exploring, to go learning. Learning new things is so exciting, and it's wonderful, and it creates a world for us that is full of entertainment and wonder and colour. In being vulnerable, and particularly in the business place, doesn't mean that you go spilling all your beans to everybody that you come across. So if you're having a bad day, you're not having a great day, it doesn't mean that you would tell everybody who comes across your path what a terrible day you're having, and why your partner is an XYZ, and why your kids are doing this, and they're horrible little brats, and your world is awful. And it doesn't mean complaining. It doesn't mean gaslighting other people or bringing them down or speaking badly of others. It doesn't mean making anybody else feel uncomfortable. But having some vulnerability, particularly with yourself in the workplace, means that you are able to, on a bad day, just comfortably say to other people, I'm not having the greatest of days. I'm struggling a little bit. So just bear with me. And if I do ask for any help with anything, I'd really appreciate your support. That shows that you are having a tough day. We don't need to know all the nitty-gritty, but we, in our ego, have an insatiable desire to know everything. To know the gossip, to know the truth, to know the reason for things. Yet realistically, we don't need to know. It should be sufficient for us to say, and also for us to hear from others, I'm struggling today. I'm not having the best of days. And if I need your support, I'd really appreciate you giving it, and I'll let you know if I do. Or something along those lines. But to complain about other people or other things and to have a wine fest is not helpful. To clam up and pretend that everything is okay and there's nothing wrong and that you're all okay, and to also not be receptive to other people and to what they're going through, is not being vulnerable. Ruling with an iron fist and being somebody who doesn't show their real side, the true them, isn't well received by others. It doesn't bring good, healthy relationships about in the workplace, and it doesn't help people to feel safe. Having compassion and empathy and understanding for others and for ourselves brings us a step closer to being that vulnerable person. Yet vulnerability in our businesses must be accompanied with boundaries. So the personal boundary for you may be, I won't disclose anything of a very personal nature, and I can certainly let people know when I'm having a tough day, but I'm not going to disclose all the nitty-gritty. Very often in people's lives, there's too much of a personal, intimate nature that is shared that really is not necessary. Being a vulnerable person allows you to also question who and what you are sharing, and is it necessary? And that's a really important point, because people are people. And at the base of that, people love gossip and they love to share gossip. People are refer to that as, well, it's the girl talk, or it's the boy talk, or, the locker room talk, or the bar talk, or what have you, or the coffee break talk. We share details of other people and we get into gossiping. And gossiping, there's nothing good that comes from gossiping. There's nothing good that comes from sharing other people's pain, other people's struggles, and other people's vulnerability, and especially when they share too much. So what we really need to do, particularly in business, is share what is vital to the business and share what you want the whole world to know. You don't share what you want the whole world to know. You keep certain things private. If there are struggles in the business, and if there is extra commitment, extra support that you need, extra hours for people to put into it, extra external support or what have you, you can talk about those sorts of things. Yet when it comes particularly down to personal details, you must question, is it really necessary to share this information? And who are you really sharing it with? Because not everybody will have your best interests at heart. At the bottom of it, people love to gossip and they love to talk. And unfortunately, people love to talk about bad things that are happening for other people. It seems to have this strange effect where it elevates people up out of themselves and takes the focus off themselves and puts the spotlight on somebody else, which is not a healthy thing to do. So as a business owner, is vulnerability a good thing for you? Yes, of course, because I come back to, it helps that curiosity in your own life and learning, and it helps you to be more self-aware and to start looking at, why do I do this? Why do I behave that way? Why do I think this way? How come I believe in that? And it allows things to come to the surface at the right time so that then you can address those. You can then change those thoughts, those beliefs. You can change the habits. You can change behaviors. You can change into a person who is compassionate and kind and understanding without being a weak pushover. You know, it's hard work being a great person and having yourself in a great place emotionally, mentally, physically, and run a business successfully. It's not easy. And yet it can be easier. It can be easier. And being vulnerable just allows you to acknowledge that you're going to feel the feels. That if it's not a great day, you're going to just allow the feelings to come. Don't fight them. Don't push them down. Don't stuff them away down near your kneecaps so that you're not going to let them see the light of day, because that's not healthy. That's when sickness and disease does evolve and it does start to escalate. And I have seen this so many times in my practice. I've seen it in my family. I've seen it in friends, and I've seen it in colleagues and clients and so on. So we must be very careful, and it's a fine-tuned balance, this life that we've got to work. But feeling the feels, feeling those emotions, facing them, is being vulnerable. It's allowing yourself to just walk through the process, because once something has seen the light, once it has come out, it's been exposed. And once it's been exposed to you, once you can fully see it in the true light of what it is, it never seems as dark, it never seems as dangerous, it never seems as scary and threatening to us. Our subconscious mind wants to be safe. They want to stay safe, and it wants to feel safe, and it wants to keep you safe. And I know that this is something that I have been through. I have walked through this every time I want to make some kind of a change in my life or address something, or I think, gosh, why do I think that? I'm going to work on that. I'm going to change it. I can feel a little resistance come up. And that resistance is simply my unconscious mind saying, whoa, hold on there, partner. No, we're not going there today. And I say, yeah, come on, let's go. Let's do this. Let's change it. And once we learn, to start facing ourselves and question, have that curiosity, that lovely childlike curiosity. Why do I think this? Why do I believe that? Why do I say these things? Why do I behave that way? Why do I do this? Why is my habit like this? We're able to then, with that beautiful childlike curiosity, without condemnation, without judgment, without criticism, simply look at something and say, why is that, and how do I change it? If it doesn't fit with us, if it's not something we want to do, think, say, behave, feel, we have the power to change that. And I encourage you, start looking at feeling the feels. Face them, because they're actually not going to cause you harm. They won't stop your heart beating. They won't stop you breathing. They won't stop your brain from functioning. It won't end your life. But the feel that you will feel might be a little bit scary. But it's only like a loud bang, and then it will pass. Once you learn to start to change. And change is a scary, dirty word to some, and it certainly doesn't need to be. Being vulnerable in your business is going to allow you to be a more authentic leader, to be able to lead people with empathy and compassion, and inspire loyalty and dedication from your team. It's going to help you to discover a strength within you that you probably don't know that you have. Not fully. I think that many people are aware of an amount of strength that they have, yet you have such a huge level of strength to be the real, authentic, wonderful, unique you. You just haven't been able to tap into that completely and fully. And if you're saying, oh, yep, I do that, I completely am aware of all my strengths, etc., I would suggest that there's so much more room for you to grow, that belief of, I know that and I've arrived there and I have so much strength, I know I can do whatever, is possibly something that could be holding you back from going even further. We have unlimited resources within, and we simply need to tap into those. And being vulnerable is the starting point. So I'd really encourage you, feel the feels, be aware, become so self-aware of yourself, and really start to look at your patterns of thought and behavior and habits and so on, and beliefs and everything that drives you, and start to develop that beautiful, innocent, childlike quality of curiosity about yourself, and start to grow and change through the process of being vulnerable, because that is going to bless you. And that is going to open up a whole world for you to lead your business in a whole new way. Even if you're just a solopreneur. But if you've got other people that work with you in and around the business, it's going to leach out from you and positively affect everybody else as well. So I'd encourage you, start looking at being a vulnerable leader today. And that will be the start of a fantastic and wonderful journey for you. I thank you for joining me today. Thank you so much for your time. And please share this episode with others. Like and subscribe. That would be great, because that always helps to get the episode out to other people. They start to see that on their feeds and so on. So I'd appreciate that. That would be so cool if you could do that. And join me next time for another episode of the Business Health and Mindset podcast. Have an awesome, wonderful day, and thank you for your time. See you on the next episode.